When the school field trip bus driver suffered a heart attack and crashed, retired teacher Margaret Thompson was driving her 8-year-old granddaughter Angela to Central Elementary School. The bus spun out of control into oncoming traffic, hitting 3 cars before rolling over with 25 children and 6 adults injured inside. Margaret jumped from her car and grabbed a bag from her trunk while a nearby driver shouted, "Margaret, it's too dangerous. Let's wait for the fire department." But Margaret was already moving into action. The bag in her hands wasn't an ordinary first aid kit, and the way she used it, these weren't things a retired teacher should know how to do. When the smell of blood hit her nose, she paused. This smell, these panic screams, she had heard them before, somewhere else under very different circumstances. And in the next 50 minutes, everyone at the crash site would learn who Margaret Thompson really was. Because some secrets, even when kept for 50 years, surface in life or death moments. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we continue with this powerful story, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. Margaret Thompson was the most beloved retired teacher at Central Elementary School. At 74, she had taught third-grade students for 40 years, touching the lives of thousands of children. Even though she was retired, she still visited the school and helped other teachers. "Mrs. Thompson is our treasure," said Principal Janet Rodriguez. "Her love for children, her patience and understanding are legendary. It's impossible to find a teacher like her." But Margaret's patience and understanding came from very different places than normal teaching experience. Her morning routine of taking Angela to school was always the same. They'd get ready at 7:30, leave at 8, and sing Angela's favorite songs on the way to school. But Margaret's car was different from other grandmothers. There was always a comprehensive first aid kit in the back seat. Neighbors noticed Margaret's extraordinary calmness. "Margaret, you never panic in any situation," they would say. "Experience," Margaret would say quietly. She never went into details, never talked about her past. Margaret's first aid knowledge was also different. When there were minor accidents in the neighborhood, everyone would call her. She provided professional-level medical care, but no one knew where she learned it. Margaret Thompson's real story began 54 years ago. At age 20, she had joined the Army Nurse Corps. But why? It wasn't family tradition, it wasn't economic necessity, it was something else. As a child, Margaret had watched the neighborhood doctor, Dr. Samuel, save lives. That day she made a promise to herself, "I will provide medical care to people. I will get the best nursing training." When she joined the Army Nurse Corps, she chose military hospital nursing. But after basic training, she was selected for a more special assignment. Korea MASH Unit assignment, the most challenging program. This assignment was 18 months of nursing training at a mobile Army surgical hospital in a war zone. Margaret was one of the most dedicated nurses in this program. Margaret wasn't just learning basic nursing. Combat casualty nursing, battlefield triage, mass casualty care, emergency surgical assistance, most importantly, life and death medical decision-making under extreme pressure. Margaret's Army Nurse Corps training wasn't just hospital nursing. Korean War MASH nurses received advanced trauma nursing, emergency surgical care, and battlefield medical management training. "A MASH nurse's job isn't just patient care," said head nurse Major Patricia Collins. "You're the person who saves the lives of wounded soldiers, young soldiers, families, wounded civilians. You make life-death nursing decisions for them." Margaret embraced this philosophy. Advanced nursing care under extreme conditions, trauma patient stabilization, emergency surgical assistance. The hardest part of her training was mass casualty nursing, mortar attacks, artillery bombardments, multiple wounded soldiers at the same time. Margaret developed extraordinary skills in this area. Her first deployment was near Seoul. Head trauma nurse at the 8063rd MASH Unit, Margaret's most difficult nursing case was providing simultaneous care to 40 wounded soldiers after a Chinese artillery attack. Triage nursing, surgical preparation, cardiac emergency care, perfect training. Her second deployment was at Pusan Perimeter, Mobile Surgical Unit. During this period, Margaret conducted the most complex nursing operations, penetrating wounds, blast injuries, cardiac arrests under combat conditions. Her third assignment was medical support for Incheon landing, amphibious assault medical operations, beach casualty care, mass evacuation nursing. Over 18 months, Margaret provided nursing care to 800-plus wounded soldiers, saving 300-plus critical cases. But what really changed her was the medical response after the Chinese assault on Hill 255. 60 wounded soldiers arrived at the MASH unit simultaneously, and Margaret performed continuous triage nursing for 12 hours. 15 critical cardiac cases, 25 major traumas, 20 minor wounds, all simultaneously. After that operation, while lying in the base, she thought about her civilian future. She made a promise to herself. Now I will serve children in the U.S. civilian community. I will combine my nursing knowledge with education. After receiving an honorable discharge from Korea in 1953, Margaret transitioned to a civilian career. She attended PTSD counseling, veteran reintegration support, and teaching certification programs. But Margaret's goal was clear. Her nursing experience made her more effective in children's education. She could use her expertise in medical emergencies, health education, and child safety. An elementary teaching position was the perfect career choice. It reminded her of her service mission in Korea, caring for vulnerable people. She could quietly use her medical knowledge in the children's community. When Central Elementary hired her, Margaret was overqualified. Teaching degree, 18 months of MASH unit nursing experience, combat trauma nursing certification. But the hiring committee didn't ask background questions. "I've always wanted to work in children's education," Margaret had said, and now this was completely true. Margaret's teaching career seemed simple: third-grade education, child development, parent communication. But Margaret was doing much more. She handled every child emergency with a nursing perspective. Playground injuries, sudden illnesses, behavioral health concerns. She continuously used her MASH unit triage experience. "Mrs. Thompson, how do you handle medical emergencies so well?" asked colleague teacher Susan Martinez. "Experience," Margaret would say. "Children need comprehensive care, not just education." This experience came from 18 months of combat nursing. MASH nurses perform rapid medical assessment, emergency intervention, life-saving decisions under pressure. Margaret also always carried comprehensive medical supplies, advanced first aid kit in her car, emergency medical equipment at home, always prepared for medical emergencies. Thursday morning, October 22nd, Margaret was routinely taking Angela to school. Passing through Maple Street, she saw the school bus convoy ahead. At 8:15, a normal school day would begin. Angela was excitedly talking about the field trip. "Grandma, we're going to the zoo today. We'll see elephants," said Angela. "Wonderful, sweetheart. Be careful and listen to your teacher," said Margaret. But Margaret noticed unusual activity in traffic. The school bus was making erratic movements, sudden lane changes. Ahead, the school bus driver suddenly collapsed. The bus lost control, swerving toward the oncoming traffic lane. Margaret immediately recognized the danger: medical emergency causing vehicle accident. "Angela, check your seatbelt," Margaret said quickly. The school bus made sequential impacts with 3 cars, then rolled over. Margaret observed the accident sequence in detail: cardiac event, loss of control, multi-vehicle collision. Margaret parked her car roadside, turned on hazard lights. "Grandma, what's happening?" Angela asked, scared. "There's been an accident, sweetie. Grandma's going to help. Stay in the car." Margaret took the medical kit from the trunk. 54 years later, once again a mass casualty situation. As Margaret approached the crash scene, she performed automatic triage assessment: school bus, overturned, 25 children visible through windows, various injury levels. Car 1, front-end impact, 2 adults conscious but injured. Car 2, side impact, 1 adult unconscious, 1 minor conscious. Car 3, rear-end collision, family of 3, children crying. Bus driver, cardiac arrest, unconscious. CPR required immediately. Total casualty count, 32 people. Multiple injury types, priorities needed. Margaret's 18 months of MASH experience immediately activated. This was Hill 255 all over again. "Someone call 911, Margaret announced. "Multiple casualties, medical emergency." 25 children trapped in the overturned school bus. Margaret began systematic triage, entry through emergency exit, quick visual assessment, 8 children minor injuries, conscious, crying 12 children moderate injuries, cuts, possible fractures, 3 children serious injuries, unconscious 2 children critical condition, head trauma. Margaret applied MASH triage principles. Treat most critical first, stabilize, move to moderate cases. Children, Mrs. Thompson is here. You're safe. Listen carefully. Critical case 1. 7-year-old boy, head injury, unconscious. Stabilize neck, check airway, monitor breathing. Critical case 2. 9-year-old girl, internal injuries suspected, conscious but showing shock symptoms. Margaret used advanced pediatric trauma nursing, airway management, bleeding control, shock prevention. Margaret simultaneously handled bus critical children, medical stabilization, driver cardiac resuscitation, bystander assist, other vehicle occupants triage scene, safety coordination. Korea MASH experience was crucial. Multiple patient management, resource allocation, priority decisions. "Lady with medical training," Margaret said, approaching car 2. "Unconscious adult, possible concussion. Monitor breathing, don't move neck." Car 3 family approach, children scared but minor injuries. Comfort them, check for hidden trauma. Margaret was creating organized medical response. Assign responsibilities, maintain calm, systematic care. Total operation coordination, 32 patients, various injury levels, limited resources, no professional backup yet. 18 minutes later, first responders arrived, ambulances, fire department, police. Margaret gave an organized medical briefing. Paramedic supervisor, medical situation report, bus driver, cardiac arrest, CPR ongoing 18 minutes. Some response. School bus, 25 children, 3 critical, 12 moderate, 8 minor vehicle occupants, 6 adults, 1 unconscious, others stable. The lead paramedic was amazed. "Ma'am, this organization is incredible." "Medical background?" Margaret paused. Time to reveal a 50-year secret. Army Nurse Corps Korea MASH unit, combat trauma nursing mass casualty experience? The paramedic supervisor couldn't believe it. "You're a Korean war nurse?" This explains the professional triage level. Margaret quietly stepped back, letting professional emergency teams take over. Mission accomplished. Margaret coordinated hospital transport for critical patients, bus driver, cardiac stabilization, hospital transport for heart attack treatment, critical children, head trauma, internal injuries, pediatric intensive care, required moderate injuries, emergency department evaluation, family notification. During transport coordination, Margaret continued pediatric nursing care. Comfort scared children, communicate with parents, ensure medical continuity. Angela watched from the car as Grandma coordinated the entire medical emergency. Proud but confused about Grandma's expertise. Hospital arrival, emergency department impressed with field care quality. Nurse, field stabilization excellent, advanced trauma nursing perfect, said the ER doctor. "I served in Korea," Margaret said quietly. Army Nurse Corps, MASH unit, 1951 to 1953. The community crowd gathered, listening. "Combat nursing?" "You were a war nurse?" asked Janet. 8063rd Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, trauma nursing, battlefield medical care, 18 months Korea deployment. Silence. The beloved retired teacher in the community had a hidden military nursing background. "Mrs. Thompson, why never mentioned this?" asked a parent. "Because it wasn't necessary. I became a teacher, focused on children's education. Medical background was private. But today, this background saved lives," said the paramedic supervisor. Margaret nodded. "When needed, training returns." Margaret visited the hospital to check patient conditions. Bus driver, heart attack survived, surgery successful, recovery expected. Critical children, all stable, no permanent damage. Moderate injuries, treated, released, full recovery, anticipated. Total outcome, 32 people involved, 0 fatalities, excellent medical outcomes. Hospital staff recognized. Margaret, Nurse Thompson, field nursing extraordinary. Patient stable thanks to immediate professional care. Team effort, said Margaret. Professional emergency responders did excellent work. Dr. Patricia Williams, ER Director. Mrs. Thompson, would you consider volunteer nursing here? Experience is invaluable. Margaret considered. Perhaps occasional volunteer work, still focused on community education. Central Elementary organized an appreciation event for Margaret. Mrs. Thompson risked herself, saved our children. True community hero. Margaret was uncomfortable with attention. Any teacher would help children in emergency. But not everyone had your medical expertise, said Janet Rodriguez. Student families gathered to thank Margaret. Our daughter is alive thanks to your quick medical response. You stayed calm, organized everything perfectly. Professional nurses said your field care was perfect. Angela was proud but still curious. Grandma, were you a soldier? Margaret gave a gentle explanation. Grandma was a nurse, Angela. Helped sick soldiers long ago. Now, help children learn. The local VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, contacted Margaret. Mrs. Thompson, we didn't know we had a Korean War nurse in our community. Would you join us? Margaret was hesitant. Been civilian so long, not sure if I belong. Service never ends, said the VFW commander. Different uniform, same mission, serve the community. Margaret reconnected with Korean War veterans, shared experiences, mutual understanding. I became a teacher after Korea. Felt like continued service, caring for children instead of soldiers. Education is service, said a fellow veteran. You never stopped serving. Margaret felt comfortable with the veteran community, no longer hiding her military background. Margaret returned to school for occasional substitute teaching, but now everyone knew her background, educator and Korean War nurse. Mrs. Thompson, can you teach health education? Asked current teachers. Margaret was an excellent health educator. First aid, safety, emergency preparedness. Military nursing experience was invaluable. Students were fascinated. You were a real nurse, Mrs. Thompson? Yes, long ago. Now I'm a teacher. Both jobs are about caring for people. Margaret developed health curriculum, basic first aid, emergency response, community safety. Her dual background, education and nursing, made her a unique community resource. Margaret was still active, teaching part-time, health education programs, community volunteer nursing. Margaret's greatest achievement, transferring military nursing expertise to civilian community service. Korean War taught me nursing skills. Teaching career taught me education. Community needs both. Angela now understood Grandma's background. My grandma was a war nurse and teacher, double hero. Margaret was a legend in the community, educator, nurse, community protector. As long as Mrs. Thompson is here, the community is safe. Medical knowledge, teaching wisdom, caring heart. Margaret taught Angela about legacy. Service comes in many forms, Angela. Soldiers serve country, teachers serve children, nurses serve sick people. Will I be a nurse like you, Grandma? You can be whatever serves others best. Important thing, use your gifts to help people. Margaret taught through her own example. Military service, education career, community volunteer work. Service never ends, just changes form. Always find a way to help others. Angela was learning both education and health awareness from Grandma. Margaret's story wasn't just about heroism, it was about professional expertise, transforming into lifetime commitment, service spirit taking different forms, from Korean War nursing to civilian teaching, from education to community health, always serving. Military taught me nursing skills, education taught me teaching skills, community taught me that service continues. School bus accident survivors say this when they see Margaret. Real heroes never stop serving. They just find new ways to serve. Margaret's courage that day was the civilian version of the Korean War MASH unit. Military medical experience applied in community emergency. I'm no longer a war nurse, but the nursing spirit never ends. Service continues, community changes. Angela will understand in the future. Service continues through generations. So I ask you, have you ever met veterans quietly serving in your educational community? Hidden military backgrounds quietly contributing to community service? Share in the comments. Because at Hidden Legends, we believe the greatest servants often serve in the most unexpected roles. If this story moved you, share it, subscribe, and help these important veteran stories continue. We'll see you in the next legend. And remember, next time you see a retired teacher, community volunteer, or helpful neighbor, they might have military service background you never knew about. Real heroes change the forms of service, but the spirit of service never ends.